What's up, everybody? Tyson Roush. Let's talk Jets. I apologize in advance. I know I sound terrible. I'm dealing with a cold. I'm not as terrible as the Jets, but I know I don't sound well, so I apologize. The Jets were 6-3 going into the bye. They're now 1-5 after the bye. They've lost 4 in a row, and they knocked themselves out of playoff contention. So your meaningful games in December have been a complete disaster, where you don't get competitive losses, and you don't get style points for losing. So they're ending on a whimper. And tonight was an utter disgrace. Tonight was embarrassing because you're playing for your playoff life, and they came out flat. No, that's not true. Quinn Williams creates a turnover. The offense comes out. I think it was run, bad sack, kick the field goal. Right there, you're like, you know what? Get a touchdown, really establish a precedent. They settle a field goal. The Jaguars go marching back down. Then the Jaguars, the team didn't come out. The Jets didn't seem like they were prepared. The Jaguars wanted the game more. They were just like more prepared, more physical, more energy, more passion. I mean, the Jets defense was what we thought the difference maker in this game, especially with all the weather conditions, which weren't even that bad. And the Jaguars had, 16 plays? 16 plays, 96 yards, and a 9-minute drive on this vaunted Jet defense. Literally stole their soul by running the football. The Jets had no answers for Trevor Lawrence running the ball. They couldn't stop Evan Ingram. They couldn't stop Etienne out of the backfield. It was just like they just looked like they were dazed and confused the entire game. So I guess we'll go position by position. I'm probably going to miss a lot of stuff because I'm really pissed off. Because this is like a same old Jets loss, man. Like another lost season. You're going to go into tomorrow on Friday with all the quarterback stuff. Who's the next quarterback? How do you find your answers? Questions about the coordinator. And it's just, you're back on the hamster wheel. The quarterback hamster wheel. So we'll start with the offensive line, which has been awful. George Fant, the false starts. They're getting manhandled. Laken Tomlinson has not been physical. Dwayne Brown was struggling. A couple plays, McGovern was getting blown right off the ball. That was a disaster. And that's where it all starts. When the offensive line is playing poorly, you can't run the football. But again, teams are going to stack the box and be aggressive to stop the run because they wanted to dare Zach Wilson to beat you. And the Jets could not adapt to that. They weren't rolling Zach out. They weren't else. But so offensive line, complete disappointment. Running game, Zonovan Knight couldn't get out of his own way. They brought Ty Johnson in later on. He had a couple nice catches. The running game was just nothing. Michael Carter did a couple little things. The tight end group, Conklin had a couple catches. I know he had to kind of pad his stats. I think it was the end of the second quarter, but nothing there. Azuma could have had a touchdown pass if Streveler could reach him, but he couldn't. And then the wide receivers, Corey Davis for another big drop, maybe 2 drops, which was just like he can go. That experience, if he's either not healthy or dropping passes, he can go. Garrett Wilson, didn't get not really much of a big impact. Zach Wilson was missing him. Then he had the fumble, a mess. Elijah Moore contributed a little bit, but overall the offense was just doing nothing. They were just stifled, stagnant. The play calling at times made no sense whatsoever. It's just, even when Streveler came in the 4th and 2 play, they made him a pocket passer. Why would you even do that? So then you go to the quarterback. Again, when the offensive line is struggling, he's running for his life. He still cannot make the easy throws. He's missing wide open guys. And it was right off the bat, you could tell he wasn't in sync with anything. He's in over his head. He's swimming out there. It's almost like he doesn't want to be out there. He doesn't trust his eyes, doesn't trust his arm, doesn't know what he's seeing. Just misreading everything. And you're now at a point that Zach Wilson was benched for a quarterback that can't even throw. And I'll say this, I was saying he should have benched the first drive coming out of the third quarter. Once they did nothing, I'm like, take him out. Because you're playing for the playoffs. That's the most important thing. And Saleh, to his credit, did bench Zach for Streveler, but it was like, you could tell Streveler can't throw the ball, dude. He did little gadget things and some easy passes, but he's not a quarterback, man. He's a Taysom Hill. He can run a lot, but he has, so it's like, why is Flacco here? Like, are you really, I would have tried Flacco first, just to see if you can give his team a spark to try to win the football game. But Zach's done. You can't come back from this. You were benched once. Now, Mike White takes off. You come back in after your reset. You're just as bad now as ever. And now it's like the fans have turned on you. Your teammates, they literally have more energy with any other quarterback other than Zach. That's just a fact. Streveler came in, made a couple plays. The team's flying around. It's just over. The experience is over. What does that mean? That means next year he can come back and compete for a job with whoever. Bring back Mike White. You got to bring in a veteran quarterback to be your starter. Don't hand Zach Wilson anything. I wouldn't even play him next week, to be honest with you. Like, there's nothing. You're getting nothing out of this. He's not improving. Week in and week out, he's not improving. And tonight, with everything on the line, he crashed and fell. He crashed and burned. That's it. So it's done. Like I said, Trevor did some good things, but I mean, he's very limited. Very, he gave you a spark. He ran around, did some good things, but he's not a quarterback for a passing offense. And right now, the Jets don't have a passing offense unless Mike White or Joe Flacco are running it. So Zach is done. I don't care what Saleh said. Saleh can give you all the lip service he wants. It's obvious now. This ship has sailed, and in the worst way. So defensively, completely disappointing where they did not have that physical presence. The defensive line was getting manhandled. They were getting pushed around. The linebackers are running around all over the place, missing tackles, it was Doug Peterson literally outcoached Ulbrich and Saleh. Literally did. Their offense completely, and like we discounted the Jaguars, and the biggest fear was, will they find holes in the Jets defense? And they did. And we've been seeing it for the last 3 weeks. People are attacking them. For a defense that has three Pro Bowlers, you didn't see much of it. And it was really, really disappointing. I was surprised that they let this team come in and smack them around their own building. And it's happened 2 weeks in a row now. So the defensive line didn't do much. Linebackers, Sauce and Reed, they got beat here and there. But it was like, Evan Ingram took off. But it's just, you just see so many broken tackles and misplays. It's just, you're just disappointed. Special teams, Justin Hardy with a 15-yard penalty, Braden Mann with a shank. Like, it's just all just bad football. And you walk away with a bad taste in your mouth. Like, you're disappointed. Like, you just expect more. Especially, how do you look at your fans in the stands that are sitting there in rain and wind and all this shit and put up that kind of effort? They were flat. They seemed flat and unprepared. And if anything, the Jaguars had every right to be flat, coming off a huge emotional win, and they had to travel. So this is it, man. This is now you're going to enter another offseason with more questions than answers. You can ask a lot of questions about Mike LaFleur. I think it's warranted. I don't know how he adjusts. I don't understand his mindset with certain things. And their ability to develop the quarterback. Is Zach just this bad, or are they failing him in terms of development? Because LaFleur is a first-time offensive coordinator. Calabrese is a first-time quarterback coach in their second year, obviously, but they don't have a resume, building NFL quarterbacks from the ground up. So now you don't know. You question the offensive coordinator. You have a quarterback question. The offensive line's got to be completely rebuilt. You obviously miss Elijah Vera Tucker, but who the hell is your left tackle next year? You can't count on Becton. And then, like I said, you're probably going to redo your wide receiver group too, because Corey Davis can go. You want to talk about Carl Lawson? I get it. Like, it's just, when you lose like this, you rightfully can question anything because you're so disgusted and bitter about it. But this is as bad as it gets. I told you, like, last week had like that same old Jets stench to it. This was it, dude. This was it, where you're like, you literally benched your number two pick in the draft for a guy that could barely even play football, like a running back. That's what you did. And now you got to deal with all the aftermath in the media. You're going to be a laughing stock in the media because your quarterback's struggling so bad. And Saleh, and one thing about Saleh, like, he was like melancholy in the press conference. I really wish he'd just be pissed off and say, you know what? This is all unacceptable. Like, we're letting ourselves down. There was a point in this season we were saying, you know what? We were in the hunt for the division. And the Jets had choked since then. They kept finding ways to lose. And they lost in the worst possible way tonight. They got embarrassed by a Jaguars team at home.